Love and light, everyone. It's Brian here at Red Leaf Ranch. I want to start off by giving you all an incredibly massive thank you. You have no idea how grateful I am for all of you and for the support that we have on our homestead and our garden. A lot of you have started receiving our candles from our last restock, and it's just such a great blessing that I'm literally able to share our light with you and bring it into your home. I hope that everyone who's received one finds so much peace and joy within our candles, and that they just fill your home with beautiful energy. And if you haven't been able to get one of our candles, be sure to sign up to our wait list and be on the lookout for our next restock. There is a lot in the works, and hopefully next time we'll have enough for everyone. Honestly, I'm just so overwhelmed that so many of you are supporting us. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it really has been a gift of an experience. So thank all of you so much. Now to the garden. I know it's been quite some time since I've updated you on what's been going on, but we've been transitioning into the fall, so we've been really busy making sure everything is set up for success. So today I've decided to give you a full tour of the garden and all the happenings here on the homestead. So let's get to it. So for those of you who don't know, fall is probably my favorite season. I love the transition from the super hot summer into the much cooler temps. It allows for much more fashionable ensembles in the garden. And it actually allows us to work in the garden during the day because the temperatures are actually bearable. And the garden loves it too. Let's see how everyone's doing. One thing I really love about the fall season is the change of light. I'm not sure if you noticed through the spring and the summer, but the sun is a lot more intense. And in the fall, it gets a lot cooler and a lot softer. And you notice how the plants really appreciate that. I felt like during the late spring and throughout the summer, a lot of the plants would wilt through the hottest points of the day because the sun was just so intense. And it allows me to water actually throughout the day or a little later in the morning without the fear of burning the leaves of my plants, because I notice that the water acts almost as a magnifying glass on the leaves, and it like intensifies the light that hits the leaves, and it can burn them. But during the fall, that's a lot less likely to happen. So let's get into it. Still have yet to harvest the sweet potato, y'all. This is like gonna take a long time. This is really gonna be a feat to get all the sweet potato out of here. And something I wish I paid more attention to or was more conscious of when starting the garden was having appropriate storage and places to put everything. Like, I have no idea where I'm gonna put all this sweet potato. That's a lot of sweet potato. And I'm trying to harvest it all at once because as soon as I scape this out, I want to put beets that are growing in the other beds and transplant them in here, so we just have beets growing everywhere. But right now we are working on finding places to store all of this food to get us through the winter. Our asparagus has really called this bed home. It is growing so big, and it's so happy. And it's just such a beautiful wispy plant. I love seeing asparagus grow. When we first started the garden, asparagus was definitely one of my, I have to grow asparagus in the garden. And seeing the growth habit of asparagus, how much room it really needed, how tall it got, I realized that asparagus really needs a solid place to call home, because once you plant asparagus, it doesn't really like to be moved. And I wanted it to grow its best, really get a solid foundation down, because it is a perennial plant, so it can come back year after year if it's in a happy home. So through the seasons, I kept trying to find a place to put the asparagus, and I finally found these little containers at Tractor Supply. They was on sale, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my god, my asparagus finally has a home. And making sure I put it in a good place, because again, they grow super tall, so I didn't want their light to overshadow anything, I'd say. And seeing how well it's doing, it's super happy here. We still have some sunflowers going super strong, which is really nice to see, and it's giving us some fall colors. I love these burgundies and faded yellows. super pretty. A lot of the other sunflowers I've taken out of here. I definitely have plans of making this into much more of an herbal garden. And next year for the sunflowers, I actually want to line them on the outside of the garden so that there's just like a wall of sunflowers. I think that would be so, so cool. We'll still have sunflowers here because what I actually really liked about having the sunflowers here is when it gets super hot during the summer, the sunflowers actually provide a lot of beautiful shade in the mini run for the chickens. So it was very beneficial for them. So we're just gonna have sunflowers all over the place. If there's anything I learned this summer is that I frickin' love sunflowers. While we're here, I actually want to check and see if we got any eggs. These girls have really been putting out now. Let's see. Ooh, oh. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Do not mean to invade your privacy. I'm gonna let you do your thing, girl. Immediately get the side eye. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. We'll come back later. Laying eggs is a very intimate and personal thing for these chickens. So when you find one laying like that, just leave her be. Don't bug her. It's a very personal thing to literally have an egg come out, an egg this big, come out of your butt. So definitely give them the space they need to be able to get through that. Okay. So here's the bed that we started the earliest for the fall, and everything is adjusting beautifully and really starting to take flight now that the temperatures are getting cooler. Brassicas really, really love those cooler temps. I notice straight after rainy days, those cool, cloudy days, they just explode with growth. And the beans are doing really well also. We're starting to get some little pods going. It's been really, really cool to see. And it's awesome during the fall to grow your brassicas because you don't have the threat of cabbage worm, which is such a relief because they demolished my brassicas this past season in the summer. Over here we have some kale growing strong. Wow, it's incredible. Oh goodness. Let's see. I'm not sure if you can see this, but this is onion. Funny story, but I've actually been having a serious issue with our chickens getting into my garden beds. And what they do is they fluff around and they create those little like dig nests where they love to just roll around in the dirt. And they roll around where I planted a whole bunch of onion seeds, and the seeds get stuck in their feathers, and then they go around the garden, and then they either like fluff or like shake everything off. And now I have onions growing all over the place. We got some onions there. We got some onions here. We got some onions here. We got onions everywhere. So speaking of which, something that I'm experimenting with to prevent our chickens from fluffing around in the soil, I got a layer of burlap and I used landscape pins to pin them onto the top of the beds where I planted seeds, so that the seeds can grow undisturbed. And they've been trying to scratch up in there, but it seems to actually be working. You can see they tried there, but they just can't get through it. So far, it's a success. But I'm sure if they really, 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 really wanted to, they would be able to get through it. But it really has helped. Now, once the seeds actually grow, I'm going to do those little tents to protect the seeds, the seedlings, like I did for a lot of the other plants throughout the season. And what I actually planted in here was oats, buckwheat, peas, just some nice cover crop to re-nourish the soil so that next season there's a really nice base to work with here. Over here we have our eggplant, and it's still giving. I'm really surprised. I didn't expect it to go this far. But she's still flowering, she's still giving. Oh, what is that? Do y'all see that? Do y'all see this little creature here? Sorry, buddy. You're kind of cool looking, but are you a friend or a foe? Interesting. Oh, look, eggplant. Be careful when handling eggplant. I've noticed that at the top area here, they grow spikes, and I've been pricked quite a few times. And I'm not sure what's up with this eggplant. It's been like, is that like a fungus? Something been like gnawing on it? I've noticed it on quite a bit of our eggplant, and I'm still eating it because I don't want any eggplant to go to waste. I worked really hard for this eggplant, so I'm gonna eat it regardless of what it looked like. Next to it, we have some Brussels sprouts that really made a comeback. I've built a fence around here as well because our chickens got up in here and just chewed up all my Brussels sprouts. And I'm gonna work hard for these Brussels sprouts this season because summer was tragic. They got destroyed by cabbage worms though. I'm gonna work hard for y'all. I promise you, you will grow to your fullest potential. And look, onion. Over here, this is our only black beauty that's actually giving us fruit, finally. Ow, see, I just pricked myself, goddamn. There's spikes on here somewhere. You can't even see them, they blend right in. But this is actually getting some fruits. Ah, how exciting. We'll at least get one for the season. Bless. Okra is still going strong. She's still giving. But she's definitely like thinning out. You can see how much space there is in between. She's not as bushy as she used to be. So it's almost time to actually clean out the okra. And I think when I do so, I'm actually going to do cover crop here as well, just to get this whole plot ready for next season, because I think next year this will be a beautiful plot for the tomatoes. Speaking of which, something I'm super looking forward to is going through the garden and reimagining everything that I'm going to do for the summer season. It's been really cool to experiment this year and see just how everything grows and reanalyze the layout of the garden and see what's going to do well where. I think this big plot here where the okra is will be ideal for tomatoes. And something I really want to try doing is get new cattle panels like these. These were repurposed. We found these on the property when we moved in, and we just reused them in the garden. But I actually want to get fresh ones and install them vertically, probably a few of them, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and have the tomatoes grow up those. Because tomatoes can get wild, and they need some really strong support and a lot of space to be able to grow to their fullest potential. Over here, this was the second wave of fall crop that I planted, and a lot of it is really, again, with the cool weather, starting to take off. We have a line of Brussels sprouts here doing super well, some red and green cabbage. This broccoli is finally starting to do something. She's really taking her sweet time. And another attempt at keeping the chickens out of the garden, I got this sprinkler here to place in the areas that are heavily hit by the chickens to deter them from going into those areas. But sadly, our water pressure isn't nearly hard enough to get this to the size of sprinkle that I need to really cover a lot of ground. But meanwhile, it's really helpful at watering the garden. It lets me do tours like this and still water at the same time. So it is efficient and productive in that sense. And I know for sure there ain't no chickens about to get up in here. So would highly recommend a sprinkler and good water pressure. I've been going through the beds as well and thinning out a lot of the things that I planted in abundance, like the beets and the carrots. And I'm not necessarily sure how they'll do transplant wise, but all the little beets and carrots that I've been thinning through, I've been replanting. So hopefully it grows. I mean, you can kind of tell it's like, why didn't you move me? It's a little sad looking. Hopefully it perks back up, but we have so much beets and a lot of carrots, so I'm not too worried about it. We'll definitely have some things that grow well through the season. Over here, also thinned out the carrots, and they're doing super well. Our Mizuna is looking lush, really starting to get nice and big. Ooh, don't get wet, camera. But it'll be really nice, again, when I clear out the sweet potatoes over there and I'm able to move some beets over there and just keep the process, keep the garden flowing. Oh man, we've also been working really hard on the perennial beds and planning how we're gonna change some things for the new season. We'll give you guys a perennial tour soon. Dominic has a lot to share with you guys, a lot of ideas. He's very excited about it. Wow. Let's see, I actually want to give you guys an update on the soil that we're amending over here as well. And it's doing really well. We planted a lot of turnip to loosen the soil, a lot of buckwheat to act as a green mulch throughout the winter season. We planted, let's see, some oats in there, some peas, but right now the turnip and the buckwheat really are taking over. Planted some clover as well, because clover is a really great nitrogen fixer, and it also helps choke out a lot of weeds that grow in this area here. Very excited to see what we end up doing in this plot. We have a lot of really exciting plans. Definitely plant something in abundance here to get a really good crop. We're gonna cut in this way. Planted a potato in this bed and it is loving it. Loving the height. And I actually just fertilized this. I made a comfrey tea. I had comfrey leaves sitting in a pot of water for a week and it just became so rich in nutrients. And I actually fertilized this 2 days ago and I can already tell how it's just perked up. Potatoes love their nitrogen. Tomatoes still going so strong. Just living their best tomato life. Something that I've actually only done recently that I wish I did throughout the season more was taking care of these suckers, like new growths that happen on the tomato vines. They actually take a lot of energy from the tomatoes because it's new growth. You know, it's redirecting a lot of its energy and resources to this new stalk to produce new growth. And I've actually been going through and cutting them so that their energy can actually be directed to the fruit that they have that's ripening. Especially now that we're getting close to the end of the season for tomatoes, I want to make sure that everything that is growing on that's growing on the tomatoes actually finish. I have a lot of fruit that is taking a long time to ripen, and I imagine it's because it has so many starts or suckers. Like this Cherokee Purple is finally starting to ripen, and I feel like it's been on the vine for so long. But lessons learned. It's really exciting to learn all these tips, these tricks for the garden so that next year it's even better. Our peppers are doing super well. Did not expect them to get this tall. They're like trees. They're like little trees. I actually planted some arugula here to see if I could just have a nice line of arugula through this bed to have for the fall season. I love that I'm able to grow leafy greens again because I really miss them in the garden. The summer was just too intense for a lot of them. So we'll see how they do. You can already see a lot of them are popping up. Wow. Oh my gosh. Dominic has been raving about this grass over here. I'm not sure what it's called, but it adds a beautiful layer of like fuzzy, dreamy pink in the corner of the garden. Oh boy. Oh man, having the chickens in the garden has been so much fun, but it has also been a challenge. They got into our Swiss chard and completely devoured everything. Literally picked the stalks clean. So yesterday I actually went ahead and built a fence around here because I ain't having it. Not in my garden. No. And the Swiss chard was doing so well. So I actually cut all the stalks that had the chewed leaves, and hopefully that'll help redirect its energy into new growth. There's already some new growth happening here. So, lessons learned. If y'all gonna have chickens, make sure you protect your garden from them. And I actually think when that arugula in that bed over there starts growing in, I'm gonna put some here as well. I think it'll do nice on the edge here. It'll look really pretty next to the chard. Still got marigolds popping. We love you, girl. Marigolds have really become my obsession this summer. That's the one thing I'm not looking forward to, not having more marigolds. I'm gonna go through and harvest all this soon to use the petals for more candles. Over here we have this herb garden in the works. I transplanted, or I actually had clary sage here and I broke it up into 3 separate spots so that I can grow more abundantly. I feel like it was clumped together and it was starting to get, it was starting to rot a little bit because there was too much moisture and it was just too clumped together. I think this space will do it some good. Also planted, this was Dominic's idea, a little circle of some ornamental kale. Just a nice little pop and flare in the garden. Looks really beautiful next to the rosemary. Just really beautiful interest in the garden. Wow. Over here, oh man, this poor pumpkin. It had a really great start, but as soon as we got that one night that dropped below 45 degrees, it took a turn. Not sure if we're gonna get pumpkin this year, which is fine. It was fun to at least give it a try and see how quickly pumpkin really grows, like in ideal conditions. Like it just exploded with growth. We also have our sorrel here and this Malabar spinach, which has to be taken care of soon, because I actually have to do some research on Malabar spinach. But these little heads here, which what I thought were flowers at first, which they were, are actually turning into, like, if you can see this, little seeds or little berries. Actually, they're like squishy. I want to research if you can either eat them, if they're okay for other creatures to eat, because I wouldn't want the chickens pecking at that if it's not okay for them. Let's see. I'm actually going to do that real quick. So the berries on Malabar spinach are actually edible, but it's best to eat them when they're young and freshly berried, because the older they get, the nastier they'll taste. But something really cool too is they're really dark red berries, and you can actually use their juices as a form of dye. I got some ideas. Let's see what happens. I was gonna check and see if them eggs was ready, but she is still laying. I really didn't realize that laying would take so much time and energy from these chickens. They could spend a good few hours getting that egg out of them. They spend a lot of their life laying eggs. So now what I've been doing, I don't know if you've seen on social media recently, but I found a huge stash of eggs that was hidden amongst the bush. They love going to this little area over here. To this little bush area over here. I search every single day to see if someone's been hiding a stash. They love it in here. I actually put straw down so that they can scratch in here. But now they've been making a lot of the rest of the property their home, and they've been free ranging. They love the picnic table too. They were over here earlier. I think John put some nice little treats in here. Oh, I see some crickets. Ooh, I see some sunflower seeds, some peas, all the chicken goodies. You can hear Mo in the distance. Yeah, Mo, I hear ya. It's a nice little brush over here as well that the chickens love going into. And I've been searching every single day to see if there's a stash of eggs. They really like an area that's like covered overhead, very comfortable and cave-like almost. I feel like they feel they're safest laying their eggs in there. Because again, since it takes so much time, let's see, hey girl, since it takes so much time, they want a nice safe place to be able to do that. Hi, honey. Hi. Hi, Aria. How you doing? No, you ain't having? Okay, all right. All right, bye. See you later. Whenever I feel overwhelmed with everything that's going on in the world, I really like to just come out here and hang out with my chickens. It's fun to see them ravage through things and explore the land, and just how curious they are of the world. I always imagine, like, what would life be if things were that simple? Like, chickens literally just have to worry about finding food and finding a good place to lay some eggs. And life really is that simple, you know? Humans just have a tendency to complicate things. It's really nice to just be reminded, like, how simple life really can be. You know, having your basic needs met and being in complete control of that, you know? It's a very humbling and grounding experience having chickens, let me tell you. I'd also say this is probably the first time in my life that I've had animals like this. I've had, you know, something that really depended on me, that needed me. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And it can be overwhelming, but I've been finding myself growing a lot because of it. It's a very nurturing experience to know that something needs you and you are more than capable of being able to provide that care for them. And go even beyond that, like providing such good care for them that they're thriving and that they're happy and that they're comfortable and that they feel safe. Safe enough for them to dig those little holes that they do and fluff around because they feel safe enough to just relax and enjoy their life. It's a really beautiful experience. I'm so grateful. To finish things off, I really want to talk about the things that the garden has really taught me, that the homestead has really taught me. It has been a little more than a year now since I moved from the crazy city life of New York City to the countryside of Tennessee. And I've learned so much about my own personal needs as a human, as a spirit, you know, what really makes me feel whole and fulfilled in life. And, you know, homesteading and gardening really makes me feel like I'm living a much more fuller and whole life, because, you know, you're connected with the earth, you're connected with its creatures, and you are working in harmony with it to make sure that Mother Nature is happy, but also that you're happy. And the two can go hand in hand. That's how we're meant to live. And it's just a much more connected life, and I feel much more balance within myself. And honestly, I feel a lot more powerful. I feel like all of us really have it within us to be able to do something like this. We just have to believe in ourselves, regardless of what anyone else tells you. If you feel like it's right and it's something that you need to do for your growth, for your life experience, do it. You know, I'm so grateful that I even had an opportunity to be able to do something like this and have this experience with me to carry for the rest of my life. Now, I really can't imagine my life without a garden. And it's even more of a blessing that I'm able to share this experience with all of you, you know, and inspire you all to pursue a life like this, because now more than ever, we have to. The world is screaming at us. Mother Nature is giving us all the signs that we need to remember her and not forget her, that we need to work with her and not against her. Nature does not need us here. We have to be reminded of that. All this will thrive without the human existence. And we have the power to create such beauty and abundance when we work in harmony with her, even more so than just destroying and taking for our own selfish reasons. So with that, I'm gonna leave y'all here. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share to keep spreading the love for gardening and homesteading. Take care, everyone.